right, here we go. Let's go live. All right. Welcome to our Christmas extravaganza. This is officially our day 3 of it. We had all the brands on Wednesday, which is December 1st. Pepe Romero was on, Aloha, Canalea, and Kala, Ohana, Flight, and Cordova. The only one we didn't have on was Enya. They're all donating an instrument. And then we had our first song tutorial yesterday, which was rocking around the Christmas tree. Who saw that video? That is now posted up on the chat here, or not in the chat, sorry. It's posted up on YouTube. And then today we have our first special guest, and you are in for a treat today. And it's a very exciting time for our guest as well, who is recently been nominated for, and we're gonna go ahead and call it his 7th Grammy. So we'll have our guest on in just a second. But anyway, thanks all for being here. We're also going to have a very special sale on all of this, all the models that have been designed by our guest as well. So anyway, make sure you all signed up, ukelikethepros.com/Christmas. We do have a VIP and a platinum for our members, and they're on a Zoom call right now. Of course, everybody on YouTube is here on YouTube. And then if you want to be on that, we're going to do a separate Q&A with Daniel after this live. So it'll be a lot of fun. So hopefully you're all ready. Let me know where you're all from. I see everybody in the chat here. Colleen and Joy and Kristen and Cynthia, Burr, Douglas, Steve, Nancy, Patricia. All right, so everybody, thank you. Thank you. My team's here as well. And then for our VIPs, I want to welcome everybody here, Sandy and Patty and Herb, Mike, Wayne, Elizabeth, Nikki, Barry, Mo, Randall, Brenda, Giempe, Douglas, Greg, Chuck, Mark, Patty, Donna, Herb, Connie. So welcome everybody. So, all right, we're going to have a lot of fun today. All right, we're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to hear some amazing music. And we're going to talk with one of the true artists in the world of music, not simply only ukulele music, but just in the world of music, always creating, always innovating, always coming up with something new, keeping it fresh. And because of that, that's how, the well-deserved, as I mentioned earlier, Grammy nomination this year for the world music of his new album. So I'm going to bring on, without further ado, the one and only, and really a true friend of Ukulele Pros. Daniel's been on many Q&As with us for ukulele, for guitar, for Guitarlele. He's also was part of our advanced technique workshop. And so we're going to have a special on that today too, because Daniel was a part of that advanced technique workshop for the ukulele. So without further ado, I want to bring on the one, the only, and he's looking fantastic, dapper today. Someone who's a true musical genius, which I know he may not want me to say that, but he is. And just an amazing person, but the one and only Daniel Ho.
Aloha, everyone.
All right.
Mele kaliki maka.
Exactly. Mele kaliki maka. All right. So I asked everyone, throw in where you're at in the chat. Daniel, where are you coming in from?
I am in Los Angeles. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah.
New York City, San Jose. All right. Oh, I have a gig up in San Jose in February. If you're available, February 12th, I'm going to play actually in Palo Alto at Stanford University with my trio. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
At Bing Concert Hall on February 12th. So please come on out and let your friends know. like my
All right, the
second gig in
good.
2 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You got to slow down a little bit. You're putting yourself out there too much.
Oh boy.
So, all right. So, Daniel, so welcome. This is our Christmas extravaganza. The idea behind this was to incorporate the various brands, the manufacturers out there with some Christmas song tutorials and sing-alongs with an artist from each brand. And so, we know that you are in your own right, a producer, composer, performer. And part of it, you came on as part of the Romero's creations as a artist with them. And I actually have the different models here, all here on the floor that I want to bring up later and talk about the inspiration behind these shapes that you did: the excess soprano, the ST concert, the tiny tenor ukulele, and even all the way up to the baritone ukulele as well. So, and first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations on your Grammy nomination. That is very, very exciting. Why don't you talk a little bit about the album that got nominated and where people can get it?
Uh, um, the album that was nominated was a live video and concert, an album that we filmed in November of last year of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic when it was starting to lighten up just before the second wave during the holidays. And the theater opened for a few days, and that was all they did. There was no audience, and it was a benefit for the theater. They had to close all, as all theaters did, they had to close their productions down. And so we were just doing a little fundraiser for them, and the filming and recording turned out so well, we decided to make an album of it. And the album is called East West Players, which is the name of the theater. East West Players presents Daniel Ho and Friends live in concert. And boy, that was like my only gig of the year, and it wasn't to an audience, just but we got together, spaced 6 feet apart on the stage, social distancing. We all had to have our tests. We had to be cleared to set foot in the theater. And so it's just us playing to the crew, camera crew and a great recording engineer. And I performed repertoire from my 34 years of writing music. So as far back as 1986, I wrote a song called Pineapple Mango. We played that. And songs in various genres on piano, my Diho 6-string, and mostly ukulele. And we had hula and stuff like that. So it was a really fun day. And, we submitted it to the Grammys just because we thought, oh, this is interesting. It's actually my very first live album ever in, recording for 3 decades. I never felt like I was in the right situation or good enough to record live, because it's so revealing. Like, that's how you sing, that's how you sound, that's how you play, that's what your groove is like. There's no punching in, there's no fixing, there's no correcting things to perfection. It's just what it is, as it is. And I thought, the pandemic inspired me in many ways. And one of the most important ways the pandemic inspired me was to do things that I was too afraid to do, knowing that I may not have a chance to do it. So I better do it now. So I did, and we tried it, and it ended up being a lot of fun. And so anyway, yeah, that's the album. It's only available at our website and iTunes. That's it. But yeah.
So that's amazing. And as you were talking, it got me a couple. First of all, I love the thing that you said at the end, because it's there's been a phrase that I've been promoting a lot to my team, and my wife and I have been talking about it. I actually heard it off the Will Smith his new book, and he said Quincy Jones was the one that told him this. And the quote is, "No paralysis through analysis." And so he was talking about, when we decide to do something, sometimes if we decide to think about it too much, then it paralyzes us, and then eventually we may not even ever do it because we overthink it or the timing is not right. And sometimes you just got to jump in and do it, which is what you kind of said here with your album, which was awesome. So the album, was it just one take of the entire show, or did you guys do a couple takes of various things?
Uh, a few of the songs were one take, and most of them we had two takes. Because the video editor could cut between the different angles. There was a handheld camera and a few cameras on sticks on tripods. So, but also, kind of trying to get it just right and the balance is just right and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
that's
actually,
awesome.
Warren Buffett has a similar statement. He says, "No thumb twiddling."
That's
Not that I can afford Berkshire Hathaway stock because I cannot, but he says, "No thumb twiddling." But
yeah,
mine
yeah,
is like, mine came from, I mean, it really was inspired by the pandemic because early on, they said, well, on a less fatal scale, you could lose permanently 25 to 30% of your lung capacity. So I had two songs that I really wanted to sing, and I thought, I've been practicing them in the shower, like really for like years, and they're really high. And I thought, even if I don't mix and master and do the instruments, I should just sing these things now because, you know, I may not be able to if I get the coronavirus or whatever. So I sang those songs and then, ended up finishing those. And then, yeah, it's kind of inspiring to know like, hey, I'm older. I'm 53 now, and I'm not gonna live forever. And what do I want to get done? Just go for it. And I think I got over a lot of my fears just knowing that don't don't live forever. So just do it.
right. Yeah, and as you look back too on that, you the growth only happened because you ended up doing it, right? I mean, if you never would have done the album, you would have never experienced that growth as a whatever it's as a person or a performer or a musician.
Right, right.
um,
Like once you get it under your belt, then that's something you can do. And I sort of feel that way now. So now I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll do another live thing or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Another quote based off the same thing one of my mentors says is he'd rather be disappointed in the performance rather than not taking the risk and doing it.
Mm.
You know, and it's funny. So yesterday I recorded. We're doing Christmas songs. So besides having you and various artists on these live, we're doing a Christmas song play alongs tutorial. So here comes Santa Claus. It was a song I recorded yesterday, and I wasn't going to record it because my buddy Pear, who did the backing track, he made it so fast, right? And I was like, I got to practice this for a while. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it, see what happens. And I did it yesterday. And I swear to you, he's probably edited 3,000 of my videos, audio,
Wow.
the audio mixer. Yesterday, he goes, great. First time I ever heard him say, he said, great job on Here Comes Santa Claus. So like he never said that. So if I would have waited 2 or 3 more days and practiced it, maybe I wouldn't have got such a fresh performance. So, um, but anyway, let's talk about. I want to talk since you're here representing Pepe, and Pepe is one of my favorite people of all times. He's
Mine
just
too.
he's such a humble and sweet guy. And there's some stuff here I'm going to ask you that I don't really know much about. Tell me about when you met Pepe, how you met Pepe, and how the relationship you guys developed started.
Uh, we have a mutual friend, Kevin Kinnear, who used to work at Buffalo Brothers. Do you know that guitar store down in San Diego?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I don't think they're around any longer, but I met him there. We remained friends, and uh, he's very connected in the ukulele and guitar world, and he called me and said, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, Pepe Romero Jr. He just started building ukuleles, and you should play them and give him some feedback. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that because I often feel put on the spot when I have to give feedback in front of the person that built the instrument. And, it's a little, you choose your words carefully. A lot of times it's good. Sometimes, you have to compliment the grain of the koa. and how curly it is. Uh, but anyway, it took about 2 months, but Pepe was up in Los Angeles, and he came by, and boy, from the minute I met him, I recognized his graciousness, like even before he set foot in the door. So I can tell this story because I remember it vividly. I opened the door, the front door, and he was standing there with four ukulele cases. And I said, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And I opened the door and I stepped back, and he wouldn't set foot in the house. He just stood there, and I'm like, well, you know, he waited for me to say, "Oh, come on in, welcome." And I was like, "What?" I would have just barged right in. But that's how thoughtful he is. And we walked right in, took a left. My living room's right there. We sat on the floor, and he said, "I'd like you to hear these ukuleles, and just try them out. Tell me what you think." I sat down. I mean, I've told you this story before, but I sat down and I played four ukuleles, and they weren't the very first instruments he's built. He had built a few before that. He had I can tell you, he had a spruce top with Brazilian rosewood back and sides. He had a koa. He had a cedar top with Italian maple back and sides, and one other one that I can't remember. And I played all of them, and they were like no instrument I've ever played before. Seriously, there's French polish, Spanish, like just the most resonant, alive instruments I've ever heard. In particular, the spruce top with the Brazilian rosewood back and sides. So I played for 10 minutes. I couldn't say a word. I was speechless. And then he told me later on that he thought I hated them and I didn't want to say anything. That's what he thought, but I was so blown away. And I looked up after 10 minutes and I said, "Okay, Pepe, these are the best instruments I've ever played in my life." And he was like, "Whoa." But it's just one person's opinion. That's just what I'd never played a French polished ukulele with 1.6 millimeter thickness tops and hand tuned boards and just that kind of instrument. And he explained that he just miniaturized his classical guitars, things that he's been building for 20 years, and he just made them smaller, and of course adjusted things in scale to accommodate the shape of the ukulele. And then he said, "Well, if you like one of them, you can have it." And a Brazilian rosewood is like the biggest sound you can get on an acoustic instrument. So I said, "I really love this Brazilian rosewood. It's, and he said, "Well, it's yours and use it only if you want to." And I've recorded every single recording for the last 10 years on one instrument. Pretty much. Just maybe if I strum, did something else, but that is my holy grail, and it sits at home and it doesn't go anywhere. And that's kind of our story. And I always look for consistencies in people. I love to work with people who are open-minded, who are not stubborn, love to collaborate and share ideas and have a lot of integrity, honesty. And Pepe is all of those things in spades. And it's kind of remarkable. He's 10 years younger than me, and he just has a tremendous character. Like, I can see, collaborating with him for the rest of my life, because he's, as Terry said, he's a really special guy. And I know from clients, people that work with him, if they have an instrument of his, he'll take care of them in any possible way he can. And he does for me as well. I buy Romero Creations ukuleles, and he makes sure that they're set up exactly as I need and all of that, and pickups and whatever. So
Yeah.
that's Pepe.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love, yeah. And he does have integrity. So those ukuleles were just his kind of like what would be his maybe series 5, like just traditional shape ukuleles, or no?
Oh, they're 12 frets to the body. So the series 5, I think, are 14 frets. Are they the fancier ones?
Yeah, I
These
think
were
so. Yeah.
basic. They had no fancy inlays or ports or anything. These were the ones that he started off with that were just like little classical guitars. now he's gotten way more advanced with Romero bracing and side ports and inlays and all kinds of things like that. I have a very basic model, but it's, the best. I mean, I shouldn't say the best, but for me, it's the, like kind of head and shoulders above. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And
Now, okay.
honestly, as a recording artist, as you can see, my microphone is like, when I record, it's probably 6 inches from the instrument, maybe 8 at the most. So close miking, you can hear every scrape of the fingernail. You can hear all of the overtones that come from the instrument. And if the instrument is missing those kinds of details, they're not there, then, maybe they're not apparent, but in a computer speaker or in an iPhone, but, in a real system, when you're listening to, 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz recordings, you can hear all the air and the openness and the depth and everything that is present in, those kinds of instruments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, okay, so that was more of a traditional ukulele size. Now, I've actually brought, like I mentioned earlier, I brought out all of the models that I have of yours, I believe. Hopefully I didn't forget any, but I'm going to show them real quick to everybody so they see them. And then I want to talk to you about the design of these. And then maybe then we'll take a little break and you can do us play a song for us. But so I actually find it more like a teardrop shape than a pineapple, although people do say pineapple. The XS soprano, which is the extra small soprano, and then it moves up to the ST concert. Then the next one moves up to the tiny tenor size. Then we have the tiny tenor 6-string ukulele, and then not to be outdone, we move up to the 6-string baritone ukulele. And all of these, except for the baritone ukuleles, come in mahogany, mango, and koa wood. And then the ukulele, 6-string tenor ukulele comes in. Actually, those as well, with spruce top mahogany, and then also the big one. This one I think has only come in the spruce top with the mahogany, but this has become known as, your shapes, your initials are on all of them. And I know you've told me a little bit before, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the design, why you approached Pepe on making these, and then show us your instrument, and then maybe play a song for us.
Okay. Well, it all started with the tiny tenor, which is it's a length of a concert ukulele, and it has a full 17-inch tenor scale from saddle to nut. And I went to Pepe 9 or 10 years ago, I can't remember exactly, and said, "Hey, I have this idea to make an ukulele that takes all the qualities of the instrument and kind of expands on them a little bit. We love the portability. Concert is the most popular size. Tenor is the scale that professionals usually play because tenors have bigger sound. And can we put these things together and make them more compact so I can sit in a car and sit in an airplane, sit on the train and just play?" Because a tenor, it sticks out a couple extra inches and you always end up turning sideways. It doesn't fit under your seat in the airplane in front of you. So after, a couple of decades of touring and, all that, I realized these things are kind of important, just to have your instrument right there with you and to be able to be hands-on with it if you're sitting in a bus or anything. And it's actually something, if it's portable, then you'll take it with you without thinking. And I said, well, but I don't want to have the sound of a concert. I want the sound of a tenor. So can we keep the cubic volume inside the body as large as possible and the soundboard as large as possible, which is right here below the sound hole all the way down here. And by getting rid of the waist of the ukulele, which is important on a guitar because you put it on your leg and it keeps it there. On an ukulele, we don't use the waist the same way. But like corrugated roofing, if you bend something, it stiffens it. So if you tap the side of your ukulele, it's not this deep. It's actually a higher pitch tap tap on a bent ukulele. So it stiffens it. It also creates multiple bouts. You have an upper bout and a lower bout, and that every bout has a resonant frequency in it. So when you're recording it, you'll hear all the notes, and then certain notes pop out, and a more complex shape will have those resonant frequencies in different areas. So I am also on a recording level sonically looking for evenness like this. I want all the notes to ring evenly from note to note. So it doesn't go which is what a resonant frequency sounds like, because then I have to take a parametric EQ and cut it down and make everything even so we can fit it in the 90 decibels we have to work with when we record. So sonically it became more even. The soundboard is bigger, it's portable, it has a sound of a tenor, it has a sustain of a tenor, it has a larger sound hole, so it's like singing with your mouth open. So I presented this idea to Pepe, and prior to that, he had not even made a cutaway on a guitar. If someone ordered a cutaway classical guitar from him, he said, go to somebody else, because I only build traditional instruments. So he was quite resistant to anything modern, but in our conversation, he liked the ideas. And one day we were over around the holidays at his house having dinner with his family, and he said, I have something to show you. And he threw on the table a piece of African rosewood cut to the shape of a tiny tenor body, like a back like this. He put it on the table, and my jaw just dropped, because he had never done anything outside of a traditional shape in his life. So it was kind of turning over, going down a different avenue for him. And he was at the time he was 4 years backordered on his guitars. He stopped production and he built 4 tiny tenors, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, African rosewood back and sides and a spruce top. And to this day, the design of this instrument is exactly what he had made from the very first one he built. It hasn't changed in shape or size or scale or headstock or anything since then. And it caught on, and he could not keep up with orders. So it formed Romero Creations. And then we started thinking about the whole line. And we made the excess soprano next, because we're saying, okay, if you want to just go to the bar with your friends and jam along to the lounge music that's playing in the background, how's about something super portable like the size of a purse? And so the excess soprano is a full soprano scale in a baby size ukulele. So it's a full soprano scale, and it's about a couple inches shorter. Then we went to the ST concert, which is a soprano, tenor, and concert. And that combines all 3 sizes into one. It has this exact same tenor body, tiny tenor body. Oh, there it is. Chuck has one. It has a 15-inch scale, which is, a concert is the most popular all around the world. And it fits in a soprano gig bag. So it's a soprano size. It has a concert scale and a tiny tenor body. So that's sort of like the consummate ukulele. So that's what I practice on, because the smaller scale is easy on my hands. I just, play it easily. And then the tiny tenor is what I perform with. And then we went one size bigger, and our last step was to make a baritone. But baritones are 19-inch scale, so 2 inches longer than the 17-inch scale of a tenor. So his baritone is 19 inches, but we went to 21 inches because I play slack key guitar, and I tune, Greg has one right there, a 21-inch scale, so you have more tension on the string, and I can tune it lower than a guitar. But, you can just use it like a regular guitar, but it's small enough to fit in the overhead compartment of an airplane, which is a dream come true for guitarists who fly a lot and perform. And the most important thing is this is, as Terry said, it's more of a teardrop shape. It's actually based on a lute. It's not really a pineapple ukulele. It's based on the lute, and I'm looking for the single bout resonance. So what makes a travel guitar, and you can try this out. I've tried every single travel parlor guitar out there. And smaller bodies have an overabundance of mid-range frequencies. The mid-range frequencies are what I call telephone frequencies, generally around 1,000 hertz, so 800 to 1,200 hertz. You hear an overabundance in that ha 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 kind of mid-range frequency. What this body does by giving you more cubic volume but also making it less stiff is it can have a smaller body, but it has a very even resonance. So it's no louder than any travel guitar, but it doesn't honk. You could play any note on the instrument like a tiny tenor and won't honk. And by honk, I mean that note on your instrument that kind of barks at you a little bit. And Pepe achieved that acoustically with this body shape idea. And it works so well on the baritone six string, which, you know, basically is a guitar. It sounds awesome plugged in because you can make it as loud as you want. And it's really been a dream come true for my traveling. So that's how the line came about in the order. And finally, the last thing that came out last year was a steel string version of it. Because when you play slack key guitar, you cannot tune nylon strings in the middle of a song and expect them to remain there because they're flexible. So they stretch back to whatever pitches they were at. They head in that direction. Steel strings, you can just tune them and they pretty much stay there for the song. So I asked Pepe to do the D-hole six string in steel, and that was our most recent design. And that's the story of our madness.
That's awesome. And Joe, just so everyone knows, your ukulele there, which by the way got a lot of oohs and ahs when you showed it, is a tiny tenor.
This is a tiny tenor. And now the mango wood, I'm just going to explain briefly the three woods. The mango wood is very Pepe and I love the mango wood because it's kind of a warmer sound. So as I mentioned, with an ukulele body shape, by nature, the size of the body has, if this were bass and this were mids and these were highs, like EQ on your ghetto blaster, if anyone you remember what a ghetto blaster is, the mid range is the mid knob. So you hear bass and you hear more mid range and you hear a little less treble. Mango wood is kind of warm, so the mid range is not so prominent. It kind of goes like this. So if you combine mango wood with the size of an ukulele, you kind of get a more even frequency response in your lows, mids, and highs. Mahogany wood and koa wood sound very similar. Mahogany wood is a ubiquitous tone wood for instruments. You'll see them on guitars and all kinds of instruments everywhere all the time. It's kind of reasonably priced. It's getting more expensive now, but it sounds good. It has a clear sound. And koa wood is an indigenous wood from Hawaii, so ukuleles are associated with koa wood. So we've tried many different wood combinations, and we settled on these three for those reasons. If you want, you know, beautiful curly koa or a koa ukulele that's, you know, more, you know, like Hawaiian ukuleles, then get the koa. If you're looking for a great sound at a slightly less pricey instrument, mahogany is perfect. I have a mahogany ST concert. And the spouted mango, you know, they're unique. You'll never mistake your instrument for somebody else's. And they sound really nice and warm. So I perform with this one because it has a little bit of a look to it as well.
All right. Well, speaking of performing, why don't you play something for us?
Yeah, I'll just play you a little bit of I worked on this. It's a really simple song, one of my favorite Christmas songs, First Noel. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Man,
In the
yeah,
key of C.
that and even through Zoom, that ukulele sounds amazing.
Yeah, I generally don't like to, perform so much on Zoom because I'm never satisfied with the sound and then I get dropouts and, but yeah. So this past year, I really got into making videos because I wanted to do something a little more permanent that has, a little better sound that, you can watch more than once than me leaning over the computer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we have that problem, yeah, with Zoom as well. Tell us a little bit about as I mentioned earlier, I'm really happy for you with your new Grammy nomination. That is incredible. Now, this is a situation you've been before, so this is not a new situation for you. But obviously, it's got to be an exciting time again to be. So, tell us a little bit about maybe some of your past Grammys, and then just what this new nomination just kind of means to you.
You know what's interesting is this one means so much to me because when the I mean, we're all experiencing this pandemic and hopefully coming out of it now. But when it first happened in early 2020, I was for months wondering like, what the heck am I gonna do now? I've been working. Oh, I see Chuck Snyder said you need it in PDF format. Sorry, I was just making it up. I don't have an arrangement of that song, but I kind of thought I'm kind of done here. I don't know what to do. I don't know if live performances will ever come back. I'll bide my time, record a record, whatever I do at home. But I wonder if like I'm kind of semi-retired or something. So not depressed, but kind of wondering like maybe this is a transition. And I'm not an alpha male. I kind of go with the flow. I just try to figure out life as it comes at me, right? And getting a nomination for something that I just happened to do by chance that wasn't even intended to be a record in the first place was such a gift, and it inspired me, and it reminded me like, hey, like even if you don't feel like doing something, just get up and do it and try and make something of the day, and maybe something will come of it. And now I'm inspired to there's a lot of people on this in this group that are nominated, the whole band, the engineer, East West Players Theater. So there's a whole bunch of us that are kind of gonna benefit from the recognition as well. The other part of it is it's been 6 or 7 years since I've been nominated, and this is an interesting behind the scenes story, which you can actually read about it in Variety magazine and other things. So from 2004, when I got my first nomination, 2004 to 2011, we got 11 Grammy nominations and 6 Grammys during that period. And then what the Grammys started doing was they started having committees, secret committees, oversee each category. So people, the Recording Academy members, we vote, but then they'll get the top, 25 or whatever, 30 people, and then a secret committee would decide who's going to get nominated. And that happened to the category world music, and I was in Hawaiian music and regional roots. And as soon as that happened, I never got nominated again. So we'd try, we'd do the best records we could, we'd submit them, and 6 or 7 years passed. I never got nominated. I thought, wow, I don't know what it is, what's going on, but suddenly, this is how it's going. So Harvey Mason became the CEO, president of the Recording Academy a year or two ago. And just this year, he got rid of all of the secret committees because they couldn't figure out how this Grammy, there was no transparency. And you'll see this word transparency and diversity a lot in the articles about the Recording Academy now. And Harvey Mason, it's an interesting story. I don't know him personally, but I have been a fan of his drumming. He's a drummer, a studio drummer, like for decades, like one of the best in the industry. And I think what he did was he's there taking care of musicians. He's a musician, and he got rid of all the categories, or they got rid of whatever behind the scenes things that were going on. I actually don't really know. And I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe I have a chance. Maybe I'm still relevant. And we got, and then I was in Minneapolis performing for the Minnesota Guitar Society, St. Paul, the weekend before, 2 days before, with Danny Joy and Perry Stoffer. We were doing a concert, and I had a dream that I was nominated for a Grammy, and I was like, whoa, it's kind of a real dream. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to jinx it. And sure enough, 2 days later, the results came out, and I was so surprised and even more grateful that we got a nomination. But I think it's I think the Recording Academy is really doing its best to be inclusive and transparent, and everything they say is about that, and that's what we're working towards. And I believe that under Harvey Mason's leadership, they're achieving that. So I'm grateful in so many ways, because musicians work real hard at what we do, and yeah, it's really nice. So in many ways, it means so much to me and everyone involved. And my wife played bass on this album and in the show. And Lydia's been doing this with me for 18 years. And this is her first nomination. So it's really special to me, and I'm really hopeful for her as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So, well, we're all pulling for you. You know that you got all the energy here for it. And so before I wanted you to play just one more song. Just had asked all the artists to get a couple of things ready, not something short. Just so everyone knows, in honor of Daniel, on all your ukes, we have actually had a couple doing a couple sales today just for you, in honor of you, Daniel, on all your models here at the store. Okay, so we're doing 10% off all the XS sopranos, tiny tenors, ST concerts, and then we're actually doing a bigger sale, 20% off the baritone ukuleles that we have here as well. So that's just in honor of you for being here, and just for people that want to who don't have one of your instruments, and will be amazed about how and you could hear it even over the Zoom, about how big they sound for looking like an instrument that wouldn't have that big of a sound on it. So
Yeah. And I want to tell you real quick what I use them all for, because I asked Pepe specifically for these instruments. So the tiny tenor, as I mentioned, is my performing ukulele, because it is where it all began, and it's sort of a perfect balance of all the elements. The ST concert, the soprano tenor concert, is my practice instrument. It pretty much just sounds like a tiny tenor. The sound is a little warmer and softer and gentler, and it's easier on your hands to play because it's a concert scale. So you don't have to stretch very far. It's just easy. So I practice on that. You can spend more time on it. The XS soprano is, if you guys like happy hour as much as I do, way back pre-pandemic times, Lydia and I she goes on Yelp and she looks up all the best, wherever we are, like the best happy hour, who's got the portobello mushroom fries or the garlic fries or dollar oysters or whatever. And I'd sit there and I'd jam along to whatever's music. Usually it's lounge music. So if you go to bar, it's and then you can practice your scales and take solos and things like that, and eat garlic fries or portobello mushroom fries, which are very oily. So always eat with your right hand, because you touch your neck with your left hand. So if you eat with your right hand, all you do is touch the strings. It works perfectly. And the big one, the D-Ho 6-string thing, is basically you can use it just like a guitar. And it's small, take it anywhere. So when I tour with a tiny tenor and a D-Ho 6-string. Steel, because I play two different tunings, standard tuning and the G kilowatt slack key tuning. I can change it back and forth. The nylon has a beautiful melodic tone, and I use that for record, So anyway, that's and all have gloss finish, yes. So they're very durable.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, why don't you take us out with something here, Daniel?
Okay, here's a song called "On a Gentle Island Breeze," and uh, uh, it is seemingly simple song, but I wanted to play this for you because it has counterpoint. So a counterpoint are melodies that answer melodies in sort of a classical compositional technique. So you'll hear the melody, and then you hear kind of little melodies happening in between and underneath. So they harmonize the melody, but they're not moving in parallel motion. And On a Gentle Island Breeze was written for an album of that name that I did with Taiwanese Aboriginals. And it's about the wind blowing through the grassy fields and the stalks of rice moving, in different directions as the wind blows. They move in counterpoint with the wind. So I was trying to score the peacefulness of the rice fields of Taiwan. And this was uh, album was nominated for a Grammy in world music in like 2012 or 13 or something like that. But anyway, this is On a Gentle Island Breeze.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You
Go on.
see
I
all the
mean,
little things going on behind it and
oh, it's
things like
incredible.
that. Yeah, and if you'd like to learn to play it, it's in the Daniel Ho Ukulele Songbook, the recording and the sheet music tablature notation. It's pretty easy, pretty simple.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I think that also it helps us as ukulele players, show the potential of such a small instrument. What you can actually really do with only four strings and just make absolute
Yeah.
beautiful music and counterpoint, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think, the ukulele is an instrument. It has four strings, as Terry said, and you can take different paths with it. So you can think of it as an instrument that's chord and melody, which is a two-dimensional thing. You can think of it as a strumming instrument, which is a, kind of one function. But what I want to do instead of trying to, speed, playing fast is kind of one direction you can go with music as well. But you can, if you take all of that and turn right or left, you can actually do something very slow that's quite intricate and has many layers of depth. So that would be a completely different direction you can go with the ukulele that physically may not be like or really fast or anything like that, but you can find artistry in choosing notes and creating consonance and dissonance and counterpoint and things that they do a lot in classical music. So I thought, let me try to do that with the ukulele, and it's not something I've really heard done on the instrument, but like any other instrument, it's totally capable of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What is it? What was the name of that piece again, Daniel?
On a gentle island breeze.
Oh, Judge. Okay. So if you don't mind, Daniel, I'm going to wrap up the YouTube. If you could hang out for a few minutes, and then we'll go to the VIP call and just have a answer a few questions there. So if you just hang tight with me just for a minute. So I'm going to mute you just for a second. All right, everyone. So I want to thank you all for being here. We are going to jump over to the private Q&A. Not private. I mean, we want everybody to come, but it's open to all the VIPs and also all the platinum members. Today, besides we're having the 2 sales on the Daniel Ho stuff, 10% off the XX Sopranos, Tiny Tenors, and the ST concerts. We're also doing the baritone galays, all the Daniel Ho ones, so all those beautiful lute shaped instruments. But Daniel came and he was part of our advanced technique workshop that we did, I don't know, maybe about 2 months ago. And if you want to know about that, Daniel actually shows you in that workshop what he does every single day warming up. And so he gives them all his warm up ideas, his technique. So if you impress with his technique, and trust me, Daniel has some of the best, cleanest technique in the world. That was absolutely fantastic. And we actually have a special on that whole advanced technique workshop, which included not only Daniel Ho, but Danny Usero and myself as well on it. It's a pretty long couple hours. So anyway, we're doing that for $20. So we'll put that in the link here. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. Don't forget, tomorrow we have a live, or not a live, but we have a new tutorial. And then Monday, we start with another special guest for this Christmas extravaganza. All right, make sure you sign up if you haven't, ukelikethepros.com/Christmas, ukelikethepros.com/Christmas. I'm going to end this stream here on YouTube, and we'll see you guys. We'll see all the VIPs and platinum members over on the site. So, all right, thank you all for being here. Appreciate your time. All right, so Daniel, let's